How about this survey on ESPN.com? Managing partners among top reasons, managing partners, that's not true. Managing parents among top reasons youth coaches quit. I hope they didn't spend a lot on this survey, was kind of my first takeaway.
Yep.
If you're a youth coach, the number one reason that you want out of your role or wouldn't want to take part in what you're doing is generally parents. That's pretty well known. But I'll read this for you, Danny, this excerpt here from ESPN.com and tag you in because you've actually coached a lot.
Yes, indeed.
Most of America's youth sports coaches are feeling burned out and fed up with verbal harassment and abuse, mainly from parents of athletes, according to a national survey released Thursday by the U.S. Center for Safe Sport. The challenge of managing parents ranks as the top reason coaches have considered leaving or decided to quit, with one coach saying of parents, they created tension, they instilled distrust, they were worse than children. Other reasons for coaching dissatisfaction include retirement and challenges within their sporting organizations, but more than 35% of respondents said that they also experienced discrimination based on sex, age, physical appearance from other coaches as well as parents or athletes. But Danny, the number one reason that youth, I guess this doesn't even say youth, but coaches are dissatisfied generally, parents.
Yeah, that's intuitive. To your point, I hope they didn't spend much on that survey. That's the answer. So I've been on all the sides of this, as both a parent, as a coach, a youth coach, et cetera. I've had great experiences, bad experiences, everything in between. But there are a couple of instructive things that I would say. First, when it was just dad managing the Little League team and another dad as assistant coach going, keep your elbow up, son. You know, occasionally you'd have run-ins or occasionally there'd be stuff. That's normal human drama, but 99% of the time it goes off without a hitch. That's different than this. Because what we've entered now, is beyond basically T-ball or beyond, little kids running around like a beehive in soccer. You've entered pay to play. You have entered the world of travel and multi-billion-dollar youth sports. And when that happens, when money changes hands more than it's $49 for a T-shirt that says a local sponsor on it in a color, and we're getting together once a week, when it goes beyond that, when there's hundreds and thousands of dollars changing hands, that's the price you pay. Is a parent signing up their kid to play, I'm making up a sport, or making up a thing. This travel soccer for this club, it's a $4,000 this or $3,000 that, plus these costs for tournaments, et cetera. And then your kid's sitting on the bench, picking his nose, and you're like, what am I getting? What am I paying for? And there are questions that follow that. Those are legitimate, by the way. If the club or the organization can't explain the benefits or what they're selling, then yeah, you have some rights here. Once you've forked over that kind of money, that's what has changed more so than anything else, is the amount of money in youth sports. The trickle-down was obvious. Yeah, forever, pros have always made an outsized amount of money at the highest levels. That's always been normal. Well, as college costs have skyrocketed without any kind of governors on them at all, the scholarship became the holy grail. And it's precious few, teeny tiny list. But if you want the scholarship, you better be on this team. If you're on that team, you better have made that team as a sophomore. Well, if you want to be on that team as a sophomore, you better make that team as an eighth grader. You want to be on the eighth grade team, you better make this team as a sixth grader. And now you're playing travel at age 8 or 9. And that's the standard now. That's not unusual. That is the standard to be able to make it at a high level in sports.
And I get that does relate to why parents are mostly insufferable at the youth level. But
that's the big change.
I think that's a larger conversation about the state of youth sports. I have a buddy who has been a coach forever and done lessons forever, and he is getting out of it. Because he's like, I just don't like where we're headed. I don't like where any of this is going. I don't like anything about it. And I can respect that and understand that and find it admirable. But I think it's even more simple than that to an extent. Like, you coach youth basketball right now.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that you have a parent that's terrible, but there are plenty of people at your level where this is not about going to the NBA.
No.
This is not about anybody trying to angle for a scholarship. And there are still parents, I'm sure, maybe not for you, but for people at your level that are awful. That are, why didn't Johnny play? Why didn't Toby pass to him? Why didn't Darius let him shoot the bat? Like, whatever that is. And I just wonder why in sports it's like this and not necessarily in other things like school, or maybe it is. Maybe a teacher would say, oh, you have no idea, buddy. I'm sure parents are terrible with teachers too, but it does seem like it's a little bit more regulated, or maybe it's just the hours or the access or whatever. Like, you're not dropping your kid off in the classroom every single day. There's a bus.
And you don't sit in there for however many hours.
Maybe that's the difference. Whereas like the parents at the practice and going to say bye to the coach, so they have a chance to talk to him. Or I don't have access to the teacher every day, but like I guess you could text or email. But it just seems like in sports more than any other capacity, parents are just so willing to overstep their bounds.
Yeah, and there's a million reasons for that. It's the opt-in factor because again, school is compulsory. Your kids are going to school, then they need to, right? It's totally a thing. But if you opt into the rec sport, the travel sport, the whatever activity, and it's not going the way that you'd like it to go, you feel some degree of ownership. Again, it's because of the money that's been spent. Now, you're right, at the rec level, where our cost at this little local basketball league that I do, it is developmental, it's recreational. 97% of the people get it and are doing it the way that it's supposed to go. But you got coaches who are bad apples who are, it's so important to win that game that you're going to, the kid that can't dribble at the end of the season still can't dribble because you never did anything with him and you gave the ball to Johnny, who is really, really good for fourth grade. Well, congrats, I guess. If that's what you want, you got it. You won.
When do you think parenting starts to become a problem in sports? If you're saying at that like elementary level at a 97% rate, everything's good. Do you think it's older than that, or do you think you're lucky?
No, again, it is
like I've been around a little league team before where parents were a gigantic pain in the ass, like little league baseball.
Yeah,
it's like if you're going to do this bit, just go do the travel thing where all the parents are crazy.
Right. It is because you're there, because again you feel a little bit of control for whatever reason, some entitlement that comes along with it, where you'd like it to go differently. And I don't know if it's the extra. Every case is different, I'm sure, but it all kind of comes from the same spot where you feel like this experience should be X and it's not being met for whatever reason. Right. Whether your kid's miserable doing it and that's annoying to you, so why is that happening? That feels broken. I can't yell at. Who can I yell at here? Who can I give access to or have access to? I've seen it a million different ways.
We did T-ball this year with Nooms. It was, he was 4. He's now 5. Mm-hmm. But I mean, it was the most grassroots, earliest T-ball level that's ever happened. That's
the way it should be.
And you put a ball on a tee, you whack it a couple times, and a bunch of the kids would hit the tee like 6 times before they made contact. He occasionally would hit it a couple times before he made contact. He did well. But you have kids like laying down, the same teammates are wrestling over who's going to get the ball. Like, it is the most...
Yeah, there's a pile up every time.
Exactly. Like, introductory level to baseball ever. I don't remember a single peep from a parent at any point about anything negative.
Right.
I would assume that's the norm at that level, but that's what I'm wondering. When do we introduce what we're talking about?
Right. So there's no hard and fast rule, but I can tell you this. For T-ball, for me, my dad was the coach. Now, again, you and I are just talking here, and I know people are listening, but I was pretty good, you might imagine, at T-ball. I played with a guy, or actually it was his daughter was on the team, and you might remember the name because he was a pretty famous national prosecutor, Mr. Kent Starr. He didn't like that Danny, the coach's kid, was quote-unquote playing shortstop or getting every ball, right? Like wherever you put me, I would just run and get it and run to first base and get out.
Of course, we'd go, I can see that.
I'm 5 years old. I'm doing my best out here.
I'm not joking. I'm just saying. A lot. Like you're the best player on the team. Yeah. You're 5 years old. You're not letting someone else field the baseball.
And so eventually,
would someone say to you, like, stop doing that?
Well, I mean, you'd say, let's play the position, buddy. And it's like, dude, it's 3 up, 3 down. Let's go hit nukes again. We're batting around. We're winning 30-0.
Right.
Because old Fanny Mouyer's making every play. I'm out there picking it like Cal, So anyway, after stuff happens, so he starts coming up and tugging on my, can you move him? My dad's like, where do you want me to put him? Everybody plays. Where do you want me to stick the kid? No matter where he goes, he's Kelly leaking the ball. He's going to go, am I benching him? What are we doing? Settle down. Everyone bats. It's fun.
Yeah.
But at that age, you had someone that was fine
That's
arguing
hysterical.
and chirped. So, but you can go down the list. There's no hard and fast rules to when it happens, but it 100% does happen that parents feel this level of entitlement and ownership of the process that's not supposed to be about them.
Here's what I think happens now, too, especially that everything's travel ball. You kind of got into this, but this is the way I view it. I think when you start spending big money, and big money's relative, right? I think anything more than like the $40 at the rec department is big money.
Because there's no middle ground. There's no $200 for a team. It's $2,000.
Different. Like my parents were never going to have us play travel anything. I was a really good little soccer player. Mm-hmm. I did a really good job Little League Baseball, whatever it was. Like you make all-star teams, you do this or you do that. But like in soccer specifically, like I did, it was great. If I would have said, I want to play travel soccer, they'd have been like, no, we're not going to do that. And that's fine. And by the way, looking back, I don't fault them for that. I wasn't going to the MLS. I didn't need to do that. My point is, anything beyond like going to the King George Parks and Rec department and saying, here's the $35 for soccer. to me is like, okay, now you're taking it a little more seriously. But what I think happens is if I'm a dad and I'm paying for lessons, which all these parents now are, and then I'm paying, I feel like too, I'm getting smarter. I'm watching, I know, so I can help or whatever. But the big thing to me is I think when you're spending good money and you're investing legit time, so I'm traveling, literally driving at 2 hours to this game, or we're doing this tournament or whatever. To your point, I forget the word you use, but like investment or like you feel more in charge of the situation. Where really, it's the scene from Knocked Up, where like, this is my room, the room with the vending machine over there and the chairs, that's your room. I'll deliver this baby, my room, your room over there, the waiting room.
Yeah.
But people feel like, no, I'm wearing the scrubs because I paid to wear the scrubs.
Yeah, I mean,
so they can chirp at the coach and be like, hey, man, we drove here. We're paying, I don't know what, would you even know? Like, what do these things cost?
Oh, yeah, it's thousands.
I bet you it's $700.
Yeah, it all depends on what you're doing. But yeah, it's a lot of money for anybody. So if I'm
paying that much and my kid doesn't play at all, I'm more likely to be what a waste of my time and money.
And there are questions, certainly, and there's ways to approach it. So I always try to diffuse and disarm as best I possibly can and let coaches that are working with my son know, like, I am not an antagonist. Like, I have coached, I've been on the other side where I had to leave coaching for a year because a group of Murray parents made me so miserable that I lost the love for it. I was coaching a developmental high school team, and they ruined my year to such a degree that I went, I can't do this. I cannot work with kids. No, kids were awesome. Yeah. The kids were like, stop, like, Mom, like, they're embarrassed. These people would not leave me alone, and bleep them to this day, by the way. So I always try to approach it. I'm like, I'm from hopefully we have the same goal. What can we do? How can we help? Right? Like, what can I do to reinforce the lessons you're teaching at home, if anything?
But are you doing that to some extent to do like he's not playing? Or are you?
No. It is the goal is the same. I mean, for me, for my guy, especially for my oldest, it is we're going to do something. You want to play the oboe? We'll play the oboe. You want to learn to fiddle? You want to learn to country line dance? Whatever we're doing besides Roblox, we got to do something. Let's get the most out of this.
Michael Jordan was the best at talking to referees because he would like do this thing where he pulled his jersey over his mouth. And I've seen so many of these mic'd up now where it's amazing where these guys are like, I agree with you, Michael. I saw the same thing, but I just couldn't make the call or, whatever. Right. And he's like, I just think, are you like just doing it in a better way and still being annoying to the coach?
No, and maybe, but it's like when something, I'll give you an example. When something that wasn't great happened and it was my son's doing, he's a kid, he's going to mess up.
Child,
yeah. Yeah, it'll happen. It was hey, let me reach out and say, you know what? I've already talked to him. That behavior, not acceptable. We've spoken about it.
Your experience as a coach is so huge.
And he needs to come to you. And if he doesn't, I'd like to know about it. But just as a side, as we're having a dialogue, what can he work on? What can he continue to improve at, et cetera, from an approach of, I'm not sitting here. I would never, ever bitch about playing time.
As a coach, do you like that better than not hearing from a parent all season?
It's a great and fair question.
To me,
yeah.
I don't, again, never coached at the youth level. And
because I've done everything from little kids running around bumping into each other to like I've coached professionals.
And my my kids aren't old enough yet either. I think I have a buddy who's a high school sports coach, and he wishes, I think sometimes, that maybe the parents were more, I don't know about involved or whatever, but like there's just not a lot of that.
More helpful, yeah.
So I don't know. Is it better?
It depends on style, Grant.
I think I would probably rather never hear from a parent than be like, hey, what can I do with little Nooms to make sure he gets on the field? Like, because it still feels like you're kind of nudging me like, hey, I'd like him to play.
Totally. And it depends on the person, depends on the style. So, for example, my oldest, again, talking about that, had a previous coach that you could be standing right in front of him 2 feet away, talking directly to him, and you wouldn't get a response. He just did not want to communicate with you at all. Not his thing.
You're kidding.
No, it's one of the reasons why we left the club. And very nice dude. I've been in his shoes where everybody's yelling at you, worrying about stuff, etc. The organization as a whole couldn't communicate. So that's what I decided that was it. So my prerequisite, or the thing that is important, especially if you're spending and opting in, this is my money, my time, my energy, my transport, my stuff with all these expectations that's great.
You agree that seems to elevate
100% it does.
Parent,
it's my thesis.
Control.
Yeah. So, but there's a reason we're opting in to this commitment level. It's a great lesson to be part of something bigger than yourself, to work for someone that's not your mom or dad, to improve and dedicate yourself to something. All about it. That's fine. Let's learn the lessons. Let's fail a lot and get lessons from that too. But all we need is some clarity, is some communication. and most reasonable parents are going to be satisfied. There's going to be the guy that's like, my son is a star, whether he is or isn't, right?
And that should be the bare minimum,
That's
like a
unreasonable.
teacher in a classroom.
And that's my
same
point.
kind of deal.
As long as you go, if the answer is I don't know, we need to hear that too. You can't do silence. You can't just go, okay, it's money time. Okay, who's the coach this fall? When are practices? What level is my kid going to be at? Who are his teammate? Like, if you can't communicate, you can't have my money, and that's the basic.
I think